Hello all, I'm Elsa and I'm going to present the topic Auger electron spectroscopy. This technique is very important for the depth profiling and is very used nowadays. So starting with history, it all started in 1923, where the term was coined by Lise Martner and again it was coined by Perry Auger in 1925. So let's talk about the introduction. When a high-energy electron beam bombards on a solid surface, it ejects its core electron, and this vacancy is filled by any outer shell electron. And this excess energy can be removed by two processes. And the two processes are, the first one is X-ray emission, and the second one is removal of another electron, which is called as the Auger electron. So we note as if X-ray emits, it's a radiative process, and if another electron emits, it's a non-radiative process. So we'll be talking about this removal of this another electron, which is known as Auger electron, which was coined by Pierre Auger. So what are the Auger electrons? Actually, Auger electrons are electrons which are low energy electrons, and they come out when detectors means these are low energy electrons with energy 0 to 2.5 kilovolt and can be detected only when they escape from the near surface atoms. Even though the atom's excitement can occur up to the depth of 10,000 angstrom beneath the surface, it is only from the depth of 100 angstrom that Auger electron comes out without losing the energy. So we can see from in the figure here that although the penetration depth is 10,000 angstrom, only the Auger electron comes only from a depth of 100 angstrom. Okay, so the low energy Auger electron have a mean free path which is responsible for high surface density of this technique. Let's talk about the Auger process. Actually, Auger is a 3 electron process. First, ionization happens by the high energy beam, right? In there, removal of electron from the K cell happens. Further, after ionization, the relaxation happens, means K cell vacancy is filled by any other electron, let's say from L2 level, via non-radiative transition. Further, an Auger electron is emitted from L3 level, say, and this electron is known as Auger electron, the outer electron. And how we are going to name the process? We are going to name the process like, if valence electron takes place in the process, then we will name as KLV or KVB, or in other terms, if core electrons are going to involve in the process, then we will name it as CVV. Okay, so the transitions like KLL and LLM are the strongest because the two shells are same. We can see over here KLL, and also in the LLM they are the strongest transitions in Auger process. Further, let's talk about the instrumentation. This is a typical schematic diagram of the AES spectrometer. It comprises of the term an electrical column, an optical column, electron gun, detector, data acquisition center, target, etc. So let's start with the first one. The first one is electron optical column. Electron optical column focuses the electron beam on the sample surface. Electron beam must be monoenergetic, of a small size, and should be highly bright. Okay, and the electron irradiating the sample should have energy 2 to 10 electron volt to have the irradiation, right? Further, let's talk about the ion optical column. Ion source of electron impact type are used such that they have enough energy to ionize gaseous atom upon collision. The ion thus produced are accelerated into the focusing lens column, and for this purpose, typically the inert gases like xenon and argon are used with the tungsten filament. The third one is the electron energy analyzer, which is a very important part of the whole instrument because we have different types of analyzer, right? Like retarding field analyzer, cylindrical mirror analyzer, and concentric hemispherical analyzer, which is called as CJ. And we can also see in the diagram, this is a concentric hemispherical analyzer. and the upper one is cylindrical mirror analyzer. So what they actually do is they count the number of electron emitted. They count or quantify the number of electron emitted, which, and that is measured as a function of their energy. We will be further using for analysis. And the fourth part and the very important part is the electron detector. So after exciting the analyzer, the electron reaches to the detector, which is amplified, and signals are counted them using an electron multiplier. Further, this is a typical diagram of how a spectrometer looks like in a lab. Let's understand the AES spectra. Also, electron spectra uh, is is very important to see or to have a depth analysis of the layers that we are having. Here is a very good example that I am going to discuss here. Auger electron spectra of a ferroelectric material coated on a silicon substrate. We will see how AES can be used to study compositional variations as a function of depth of thin film of a ferroelectric material deposited on silicon substrate. Here, silicon substrate is coated with 200 nanometer thick SiO2 layer, we can see over here, and it is further coated with an outer layer of lead 0.4, strontium 0.6, and titanium oxide. So these are the three layers that we are having, and we will use ion ablation method, that is ion beam ablation method, to record AES spectra for this layer. So it will penetrate like this, and we will see how this instrument is very sensitive at nanometer level. So let's see the spectra. Actually, initially, uh, the spectra is having peaks for lead, strontium, titanium. As we can see over here that the outer surface is composed of PST, lead, strontium, titanium. So initially the spectra consisted of these peaks, strontium, titanium, and lead. But as soon as the ablation happens, the peak diminishes and a new peak at 107 appears. See, this peak is growing, so a new peak appears as the ablation is happening. Also, the oxygen peak at 534 is for this is for PST, for the uppermost substrate, is going to gradually decrease, and a second peak at 538, we can see this is growing one. This is growing peak at 538, which is attributed to the oxygen in different environment, which is for the SiO2. Okay, this is for SiO2. So as ablation is going to happen, the peaks for lead, strontium, titanium were there initially, but it goes on decreasing, and a new peak appears for oxygen in silicon at 538, and also a new peak for oxygen and this as well as silicon appears at 107 as well. So these peaks are decreasing, we can see from the arrow, and these peaks are increasing. So with further ablation, PST peaks disappear entirely, and we can see that we are only left with the peaks of SiO in different environment. Like after penetration, we are only left with the peaks of SiO, like SiO2, substrate, and with the silicon substrate. So this gives a very good example of how this can be used at nanometer level for compositional sensitivity, and also different peak positions for various elements, like having different environment can be captured or can be seen. Like the elements having different environment can be captured or can be seen very easily. You can, like we have seen in this, the oxygen peak, which was having over there, can be captured very easily in different environment. So we have seen a very good example how AES can be used, AES spectra can be used for depth profiling of a semiconductor or a ferroelectric material that was a silicon substrate coated with different layers. Now we will see what are the characteristics of this technique. Actually, this technique can be used to identify a range of elements except for hydrogen and helium. This is due to the fact that hydrogen and helium have only two electrons, but our Auger electron process is a three electron process. So hydrogen and helium can't be identified. Also, the technique is non-destructive in nature, uh, and the elemental analysis can be done very easily by using a eye on it, by using the eye on the graph. Also, we have a high surface sensitivity, and analysis depth can be taken up to almost 100 angstrom. Chemical states in the materials can also be known. Also, depth probing can be done, like at how many, at how much depth, which element is present, and in what quantity as well. We can quantify as well. Further, depth profiling can be easily done in concert with ion beam spectral method. Lateral resolution is quite good, which is even better than XPS, which is 30 nanometer. And but a major disadvantage, or we can say the requirement of the method, is that it requires high ultra vacuum. It should be in high vacuum, because the ionized gaseous atom should not get discharged during the process. How it is going to happen, so it should not get a discharge, or its energy should not be dissipated, so it requires a high vacuum. Further, its main use is in the compositional quantification or identification of inorganic materials. So inorganic materials is having a wide application of this. And if this instrument is having a lot of advantages, lot of use, so its cost is so much high. We can see from here that it costs from 3 lakh US dollar to 1 crore US dollar. So it is highly costly instrument. Further, let's talk about the applications. Auger electron spectroscopy proved to be very important technique for uh, for coming market, like the this its approach can be used for the chemical characterization, for development of nanowires, nanocones, and other materials with technological advances in spatial resolution, with high stability for imaging system, and for depth profiling of the atomic layer using the low energy organ ions. Further, AES is used to monitor the elemental composition of the surfaces during physical property measurement. Also, it can also be like the phenomena like absorption, desorption of gases, or surface segregation from the bulk, or measurement of diffusion coefficients or catalytic activity can be of the surfaces can be investigated using AES technique. And also, it has been seen that the surface compositional changes in alloy during ion sputtering can also be seen, and it will help in processing like chemical properties like corrosion, stress corrosion, oxidation, and catalytic activity, and mechanical properties such as fatigue, wear, adhesion, resistance to deformation processes, and surface cracking depend on surface properties. And this method is very much useful for surface properties. Similarly, the gain boundary in the chemistry influences the mechanical properties, such as with low and high temperature ductility, fatigue. Hence, chemical properties and intergranular corrosion, stress corrosion, and electrical properties can be easily understood using this technique. AES can also be used to relate surface and grain boundaries chemistry to property of material. Hence, AES has been proved extremely valuable compared to other technique, as it gives the elemental composition at very minute level, like we can depth up to 100 angstrom. With all these advantages, we come up with some few disadvantages of the technique as well. Like, if the compound or the compound surface is insulator, then we can't use to, or it will be difficult to analyze the technique, because surface charging to happens. Also, surface may be damaged by the incident electron beam. Sometimes it happens. Also, precise quantitative analysis may require extensive work. Means it's a lot related to, it's a, it's a skilled work. So a person with high skilled, properly trained, can only work for the whole. Sensitivity is modest, not so much, so it is modest. And also, the depth profiling by ion sputtering or sectioning is destructive sometimes. So this is the disadvantages of the technique, and these are the references that I have used in the lecture. And thank you all. Thank you for your time.